Welcome to May Reiki Call, Exploring Crystal Grids. I'm Karen Harrison, and my guest speaker is Kathy Milanowski of Wisconsin Reiki. My website is karenharrison.net. Kathy is another one of the licensed Reiki Master Teachers for the International Center for Reiki Training, a colleague and a friend of mine. A big lover. She is pure joy and pure love. We've gotten to hang out in Hawaii at teacher retreats a couple of times. She's also an awesome cook. She knows a lot about crystal grids. She has a class that she has designed, a very comprehensive class, and the information is in the chat about that. What else do you... Are you an expert in, Kathy? You do a lot of things.
So I do Akashic record reading. So I'm pretty psychic too, as much as empathic. And I am a holographic sound practitioner. And so that is sound healing, but with holograms and sacred geometry, and which we're going to talk a little bit about, and working with those kind of energies. So I'm versed in a couple other kind of Reikis. And I mainly do Crystal Gridworks. I work with Crystal Gridworks a lot.
Okay, and what is, we put it in the chat, but for the people that are listening online later, can you tell us what the name is of your online course, how to find it?
Sure. All you have to do is go to reikiuniversity.newzealand.com. And right there is, you'll see the program of all the classes that I offer. And then it's Crystal Gridworks. And so how to work with Crystal Gridworks, what are they? You know, just going to look like, what is the purpose of crystal grids? So it's just working with that and a little bit of some of what I'm talking about today for the next hour.
Okay, and New Zenler, and that Zenler?
Yes. So
okay.
reikiuniversity.newzealand.com.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. Well, Kathy was going to start us off with just a little centering meditation.
Yeah.
So take it away, Kathy.
All right. So let's just get comfortable with our stones, if we have them or not. Let's invite them in, you know, with our auric field and what, you know, our intentions are. And let's just take a couple deep breaths in through our nose and out our mouth. Okay. Full big belly breaths. 2 more. There. And let's close our eyes for a moment and let's focus inwardly with our breath, feeling our lungs expand as we inhale and dropping down as we exhale. And I want you to do this a few times and get your center. And as you do that, I'd like you just to bring your attention to the top of your head and just start relaxing that. Allow your breath to be your guide. Just allow it to relax your forehead, your temples, all the way down your neck and your shoulders, relaxing your arms. Take another deep breath in through your nose and out your mouth. Allow whatever's holding you right now to hold you. Allow your day to drift away and bring your attention back to your chest. Take another deep breath and allow your attention just to cascade down your body, relaxing it all. Your belly, your hips, all the way down your thighs, relaxing your ankles, even your knees. Allow your breath just to go back down, glide down your body when you inhale, and go back to your heart when you exhale. And let's do a full breath. Allow your attention to go down your body and imagine that you have energetic roots coming out through the balls of your feet. going all the way down into Mother Earth. Allow yourself to imagine your roots, maybe even cradling her, offering your love. Let's open our hearts a little more. Allow, maybe feel grateful for her. Allow her light to come into your being and into your heart space as you pull your attention there. And stay with that for a moment. In your mind, invite your crystals to join you, to support you through our talk. Amen. Amen. And just come back to me when you're ready.
Thank you, Kathy. That was beautiful.
Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome.
So welcome to those of you that have just joined us. Kathy has requested that you get
Six.
how many? Six
rocks.
rocks or stones.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, Kathy, talking about exploring crystal grids. First,
Yeah.
what are crystal grids?
Yeah. Well, Karen, I want to back up a little bit, and to work with these crystal grids, I want to tell you a little history of me, just a little bit of it, of connecting with the crystal grids. Since I was a little girl, I understood the connection with the earth and how she worked with, she taught me that there was no boundaries with communication. And with that, I was able to understand animals, plants, crystals, rocks, the elements, and how things go. It's kind of like, you smell the air, you process with your senses. So sometimes when you're a kid, I remember this too. And I said, if it's going to rain in the air, you smelt the rain beforehand. That's the kind of things. It's not like this huge thing would happen, but the coincidence and patterns for me, I've always seen patterns and frequencies. And so through this, I worked with, and I started working and applying, understanding that how frequencies and how the elements can work together to bring a stronger focus or empower me to bring whatever I'm focusing on. Okay. And so I started working with this and I didn't know they were called crystal grids at the time because I was just a little girl. But I would do things and say, my grandma would say, I would put like a little 4, which we're going to do today, a little 4, like a cross looking crystal grid. And I would put it on the land of her farm, and just said, I wanted you to get a lot of corn because you said you needed corn. And so just little things like that I was working with. And my grandma would say, hey, Kathy, we got a lot of corn this year. That was really neat. I bet you was that rock thing you did, and I started learning and getting creative with my grids and working with it. It's kind of like I think we're all Reiki practitioners. And when we're working with Reiki, we start developing a trusting relationship with Reiki. And with that, we get guided more. And so that's kind of, if you could relate it like that, how I formed with Crystal Grid Works. Now, until Reiki happened and I got connected to the Reiki source, I really started getting more of the information about crystal grids and what was going on and how it was developing. And why I'm talking about crystal grids, I want to put a little bit of relationship with it. So when we get into like sacred geometry and things, that you're not totally you can't compare it to something else. Okay. That sound okay with you, Karen?
Sure.
All right. So it's kind of for when Karen was saying, what is a crystal grid? Some people, is there anybody, raise your hand. Is there anybody that is clueless what a crystal grid is for? Awesome. Love it. Love it. So what a crystal grid is for is to empower your intention. It's empower your intention and making a focus, and the crystals actually are alive and they enhance it and amplify it, just kind of like Reiki helps empower you and amplifies whatever you do, the crystal grids will do that. And when you put them in a certain pattern and you do a certain dance with your hands with a weaving pattern, they ignite and they connect to the earth. Why? Because of sacred geometry, because of the connection of the ley lines of the earth and what we're produced here and the heavens or ether around us, because we're working with the elements and we're on earth. Okay. So that's kind of like in depth what is and what is their purpose. It's anything for an intention. Your intention will empower it because you are creating that space, making the grid, the sacred space. So if you're working with those crystals and they're wanting to work with you, you're going to work with sacred space. And we're going to go over that in a minute. And so how would I include this in my life or in my practice? Will empower you. It's kind of like Reiki. You could do anything. I know a boxer that does Reiki, you know, it empowers her. It's really great for her. It gives her strength and courage. She's 67 years old and she boxes after she got her master's. You know, it's the same way. It doesn't matter what you do. It's a free for all. You could do a grid work and have one grid for one thing, or you could have it for many things. It's your intention. Now, I would use one grid for one thing and then change it and clear it. And then if you want to do another, you could have a thing called a master grid. That is your main grid. And you have little grids all the way around everywhere in your home or anywhere you go. Or I have one for my son, or I put one in my car, or I put one in by my refrigerator to clear it out always. You know,
if you put it in the car, where do you put it?
I put it underneath of a seat. So I make a pre-made grid. See, and it's attached.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah, you know, oh, I have rocks under the seats of my office where my Reiki clients sit.
Yep. And you can make a fastened grid after we learn how to make them. And all you do is need a sealer to them. This is a mirror one. This is like feng shui, but it's nice because it's little, it's a disc, and I could put it anywhere I want to put it. You know, this is a fastened one too. So I'll show you some more of those too. And there's larger ones too, and they're all different kinds. So this one is a clay one I made with shells, and see the points up here. I made a little point up here, and they're all different kinds.
Now is the clay the base?
Yep, the clay is the base. I made a crystal grid class. So what I did was give everybody base. I gave everybody stones to play with. This one was about voice. Somebody's voice wanted to go and it wanted to be amplified. So we used turquoise and moonstone and amethyst, slutnite, and a shell.
Well, that's very cool.
Isn't that cool? Now look at this one. This one I call flow. It's a flow. It has flow to it. And so it has citrine. Citrine's a crystal that always clears. So we're Reiki people, so we could clear things all the time, but this will always clear and activate. And I wrote flow on the back of it because I wanted to make sure. Now here, I put this on there, a little shell for devotion. I put like a little bit, I'll take, a shaman lady taught me, she said, you are good with devotion. So she said, take some rice, put it in the palms of your hand and make your wishes, make your devotions, make whatever your intention is, and then put it somewhere. And that energy will go in. So I was guided to make a little shell, put it on here, put my little devotions, and then we'll activate our grid. So it is, you can make a full table full of them. You can make huge crystals, you know. There's that big one guy behind me. I mean, the sky's the limit. All you have to do is know that there's a pattern. So you could use any kind of elemental material, which we'll go over that too. It's, you know, the bases and all that. I make flower grids. So you can
real flowers?
Yes, I do. I really do. You know, I make some grids and I put them right by a sick tree to ignite it, to get, you know, the rocks right around the tree. I'll get 6 rocks, boom, 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 put them on there.
Mhm.
And it'll amplify it. You know, you want to create something, a new class or something, make a grid for it. You want to create money, you want to create harmony, you want to create whatever you want. You know, so, you know, can this be an income for your business? Yes, that's what I mean. I really do. I sell these pre-made grids like I do for Intuitive. You go on my website, you'll see a listing on there that I can actually, if you don't want to take the course or anything and you want me to make you a grid and mail them to you, people love them. Love them. Great for Christmas, putting them up. And you can I intuitively create them. They tell me what they want and then I create that for them. And I have a rock shop. So I did have a rock shop. So I have a lot of little crystals to play with. But you could work with that. Now, would I use a base like bark when I was going to mail a crystal grid out? No, right? I would use something more of a easy material that's light, right? It's just conscious of what you're doing.
And what is that one?
This one here,
Material.
this one is actually wood.
Oh.
And you have, and these little beads are actually malachite. They're actually gemstones. And then I just put a little decal on top, a wooden decal, and then I put felt on the bottom. So now it just slides right underneath your Reiki table. Very pretty.
Very nice.
Very pretty. My class, I had things made. So I had a student that actually said, what do you want? I said, well, I do these grid classes 4 times a year. And now I'm going to be trying to do something online. I want something that I can mail and it'd be hard, you know, good. So he said, I could get military grade aluminum. I was like, whoa, that would be a huge great conduit. And so then he etched Metatron's cube on it for me. So when somebody purchased the class, I put this in an envelope, a group of crystals so they could work with and their formulas.
Cool. Do you want to tell us about Metatron's cube?
I am going to tell you all about it in 2 seconds. I promise. But it's just starting your grid works and how to work and be intuitive. Do what will work for you. You know, you could put it into your business, you could put it into your personal life, and you could work with that. So when you think about crystal grids, we'll back up a moment and talk about our sacred space, right? We, as Reiki practitioners, we understand that we create sacred space, right? And with that meaning is that you are connecting with the space around you. You're rooting yourself. You are grounding yourself. You're putting whatever's out there. Some people do it with plant life like Palo Santo, sage, sweetgrass, you know, and those plant lives actually bring the electrons, protons, and neurons down. So it clears the space. And then you pump it up with something that's positive, or you'll put Reiki in it. And Reiki will do both things. It'll clear it and pump it up with love and light, right? And positive vibes. So you could do certain things. You could use a modality, but you want to clear your space. All right. And because you are an energetic system, you're an instrument too. You are grounding to the earth. We're from earth and we're grounding. So we are an electronic instrument too. And I think Karen said, Lisa came and talked about the chakras and the energetic system and how they work. Well, when we all harmonize together and work, we are instrument. Okay. All right. So now we have all that going down for us. Sacred geometry, I'm going to do a little slide thing because there's a lot of different diagrams and stuff, and I want you to see it and understand a little bit. You don't have to understand exactly what sacred geometry is, but I'd like you to get like an understanding why these grids work. Okay? Does anybody have any questions yet? All right. Okay. So with sacred geometry, we live on Earth, like I said, quite a few times, and there's certain patterns that are consistent with the flow of the universe. Synchronicity of the universe is determined by mathematical constants. which always express themselves in a form of patterns and cycles in nature. We process these patterns through our senses. So again, in general belief, behind the sacred geometry, the geometry is a mathematical ratios, harmonics, and proportionate as found in music, in light, and cosmology. It is considered to be the foundation of all buildings. I mean, hundreds of years ago, you know, when they built the pyramids and temples and mosques and monuments and churches, they're all platonic forms. And you're going to know what that means in a minute. They're all forms. That's where the energy actually goes to these points at high magnitudes. Okay, just like our main 7 chakras are our main ones. We have them all over our body, but the main ones are high magnitude energy, really pulses in them. Okay.
And Kathy, is this something that you were like going to screen share?
I am. I'm going to do that right now.
Oh, okay.
You're on it.
I just thought,
Right.
am I seeing some?
Yep. I'm having let me see here. Okay, so just give me 1 second with the screen share. And all right. And so this is what I was talking to you guys. I was by a tree and it needed some love. And I actually I found the stones and I put it right by the tree. Okay. And I sat there and activated and I put my presence, and I do that every single time. It's kind of funny. I do it with every vacation I do. First time I go out of the cabin or whatever, I put my grid work in. Okay, so sacred geometry. We're going to start first with the easy parts. A point is a point. It's a location in space. A straight line's between 2 points. A curved line is a straight line that's curved. A circle is a straight or curved line that's completely around a fixed center so that the points of the line intersect. All the line is into a one center point. A spiral is a curved line coiled around the center point. So you see how the flowers are and how that is looking. There is a center point, and there's sacred geometry in everything you see, and everything. The Visas Pisces is composed of 2 interlocking circles with the same radius intersecting one and the other. And these are just the fine points. And if you remember in 9th grade, we went through, we did a lot of sacred geometry work and stuff like that. And it all has a logical point and a spiritual point to it.
If they would have called it sacred geometry, I'm sure I would have been more interested.
I know, me too, right? I know, right? Draw a hexagon, yay. But I did like doing it. So here is the fruit of life that you see on the left side with the red. Okay, so you see the flower of life in the background and you see the fruit of life in the center. Why the fruit of life is so important? Because it is the center of the flower of life. And I'm going to show you why. And so it starts off, they show you right here, the flower of life on the left side of just the darkened part of the bottom part where my cursor is. And then you see the purples. So you'll see the purples, one circle, and then you see a Visa Pisces, and it goes then 3, then 4, then it keeps on going. It's kind of like an embryo when it starts growing, right? The eggs, it's all creation. It does this. This is how it forms. Every single thing, it forms like this. And so this is understanding the flower of life. Again, same photo, just blown up a little bit more. You have the circle, then the Vesa Pisces, and then it goes on to the tri, and then keeps continuing on till you see the flower of life. The fruit of life, again, is in the red. And the fruit of life is composed of 13 circles, equal size in circles, which each connect to the center of the surrounding center circle. This pattern can be found with the flower of life symbol. It represents the sacred pattern of the universe and the origin of everything is on all creation. And that is in the center of the flower of the life. The flower of life is an extension of the Visa Pisces. The complete flower life is made of 61 circles. but 13 of them are from the fruit of life. Okay.
Well, that's cool. I'd never heard of the fruit of life.
There's a seed of life, and then it goes in, but I don't want to get totally, you know what I mean? Right. But this is like the last parts of it. And this is how it goes in of all science. And so what we're looking at now is the forms, the geological forms. So there's 5 platonic solid shapes. There's the tetrahedron, that's 4 faceted faces. So it's a pyramid that you're looking at all 3 sides. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, 4 faceted. If you get the understanding. And then the 6th facet is hexagon. That is the element earth. So when the 4 faces, the points, you could work with the element of earth. Again, this is elemental too. It's mathematic, it's elemental, it's energetical because it comes together, and this is how energy works. So you got the 6 faces, that's the element of earth, the 8 faces, and that is 2 pyramids on each other. And we're going to look at that in a minute. And that's the element of air. The tetrahedron is 12 faces, element of ether and prana. And icosahedron, can't say that one really right, guys. Sorry about that. It's between 18 and 20 faces, and it's with water.
So Kathy, somebody asked, how is Metatron related to sacred geometry?
Okay, we're gonna go in that, I promise. All right, so I just want to go over these faces again because Metatron's cube is 18 points right here in the white. Metatron's cube is within the flower of life, and it's actually that many points. And so you see the 4 points of the pyramid, the 2 pyramids together, and it goes on. All right, so here's Metatron's cube. See, how'd you get that? All these, if you look at the backgrounds, is Metatron's cube, and the shapes are in darker. So each shape, how they fit in Metatron's cube. So with that said, yes, you could just put a whole bunch of crystals on the little spots of Metatron cube and do the activation, and it works, and it does. But this is just a little bit more of an understanding why it works, because of the seed of life and the flower of life. Think about 2 cells, 1 cell is a circle, and then it goes into 2 cells and multiplies, and 3 cells and 4 cells. Think of it like that. Perfect little circles just multiplying. And they form the flower of life. And with these points that these geometrical shapes came out of the flower of life is where energy actually, it's like a chakra. It's where these energy points connect and start forming and creating. Does that make sense with everybody, or we just not? Any feedback? Anybody could talk.
Sacred forms.
Sacred forms.
Create energetic energy.
Yep. And these forms, even if we know them or not, like when you do Reiki, there's people that have all different levels of education of Reiki, but they're all doing Reiki. They're all channeling Reiki. But it's kind of nice to know what's going on. So just even knowing that this is what's going on could be good enough, you know. But these shapes do mean something. So when you do a thing, you can look back and say, I wonder what's going on. If I really want to work on the element of fire, then I would go ahead and do the tetrahedron, and I would put that together. Does one grid mean different from the other? They do support in different aspects, but for your intentions, you might just want to work one with that you flow with. Because the more the
put the rocks on it, like anywhere.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I'm going to show you in a minute. And
Okay.
so you want to make sure you're comfortable. So doing a 20-point grid might not make you feel so comfortable because there's a lot of work to it. You know, so it's kind of like you might, that's why we're going to just take the 4-point, the five crystals, well, 6 crystals, but so let me go over here. So what do you want to choose for your crystal grid? First is your intention. All right. You have to, you are, you know, you are creating that sacred space. What is your intention? What do you want? What happened with your crystal grid? Try it out. Think of something right now. Think of one thing. You just not tell the crystals 12 things. One thing. You know, what is your intention? You draw it, you can write it down, or you can think about it. You know, you can hold your crystals and talk to them about it. Whatever you feel like doing, whatever makes you feel at ease and you're connecting with the crystals. You know, have your crystals around you. You're going to have a focus stone, and the focus stone is this one, like is the middle stone. So whatever is the middle stone will be the focus stone because you're going to focus on that stone. That's what's going to, your outer stones are going to bring up the strength and the energy flow to the middle stone. So you're always going to connect whatever crystal you have on your design, you're going to connect it with the center stone. And we'll get a bigger picture and I'll show you. Okay. Your master crystal is the crystal that you're going to hold on to. All right. It's going to be like a pointer stone. You're going to be able to draw with it like a wand. You're just going to draw with it. You're going to feel flowy and stuff. A lot of times, you know, I'll put my master stone with all my crystals, but there's a lot of times like I have a master stone in here too. So I have one charging up. I put it in my bra, you know, good way to charge it up. It's all hot now. So what you want to do with your crystals before you form them is to charge them up. So you could charge them up with Reiki. You could charge them up. You know, your heart center is always a great way to charge them up because your heart vortex will clear them and charge them up at the same time. So they'll be really charged, but you could do whatever you want to do to charge your crystals, but take time and connecting with them. When you charge them and you're putting your design, you're creating the sacred space in your grid, you know? So think of that like yourself. You create sacred space before Reiki treatment or just when you want to focus. Well, you're creating it with the grid now. And so you want to work with the stones. And so with that, you're going to figure out what kind of grid pattern you want, which you kind of don't really understand right now, maybe which one you want. You could have 4, 6, 8, 12, or 18. That's kind of the major points there are in a grid function. And so we're going to do a 4-point grid. And what we needed was 6 stones, I told you, because we needed a center stone extra and a master crystal. Now, can you change your master crystal? I just did it right in front of you. I had 2 crystals. I said, oop, I want this guy instead. You know what I mean? Yes, you can. It's whatever you're comfortable with. Go with your flow, you know? So if you wanted to do a crystal grid, let's say I wanted to do the crystal grid to connect to the Mother Earth and give her all the love she wants. Well, then maybe I would look at crystals that have love in them, you know, like rose quartz or rhodonite, you know, the pink crystals and maybe some of the green crystals. And if you don't know too much about crystals, and so you could do your intention. So like this crystal grid here is called sunlight, because it brings sun, and it has yellow calcite, it has carnelian, and it has citrine in it. And then I put a little symbol in the back of it, and sometimes that on my base. And this is actually a rock, so it's rock on rock for crystal base. And that is like I told you about flow. I have this for flow. If I really want to flow, this guy really does it for me. I mean, it's like my best friend. You know, it just happens. Flow just starts happening when I say, ask him to start up. And so you could do these things. It's your intention. And so you could pick the crystals for your intention to power it up, if that's what makes you comfortable. All right, so we went over sometimes of the bases. The bases are whatever you want it to be. It's nice to have something that's a good conduit, like copper or a metal or a rock. You know, some are a little bit more electrifying than others, but you work with it. I have the one I'm going to show you is actually a cloth, and it has some gold imprint of Metatron's cube on it. Okay, so before we play with our crystals, I just wanted to go over what we're going to do. This is what we're going to do. We're going to do a pattern like this. So if you want to arrange your crystals, if you feel okay, you want to arrange your crystals. And if you think of this as a clock, and this is the number 12, okay? And then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6, and all the way up back to 12. But so you're going to put your crystals a 1, but we always go counterclockwise with grids, with numbering. So you're going to put your 1 at 12, and then at 9 o'clock, you're going to put your second stone. Your third stone, you're going to put at 6 o'clock, and then 3 o'clock, your fourth stone. Your fifth stone is the center stone. And this is a 4-pointed side pyramid. Okay. So you're going to be activating this actual special grid counterclockwise. Okay, so you're going to bring it down into the earth. All right, so you'll be doing it with a counterclockwise, and just imagine that with your master stone, you're just basically weaving your intention, you're guiding where you would like the energy to go. All right, and what you're really doing is working with the energetic fields to bring this up. And so what I'm going to do now is I want to show you the other grids before we start. And so here's different, like if you go to 8-pointed side, it's 2 4 points. So you have number 1 at 12 o'clock, number 2, just like before, the 4-pointed grid. And then you have another one flipped. So the squares on this side angle. So this is 5 in the middle, then 6, 7, 8, 9. So when you activate this grid, you're actually going 1 to 5, and then to 2 to 5, then 5 to 3, back to 5, 4, 5, then 1, and then you're going to start over and then go 5 to 6, then 6 to 7. You see what I'm saying? So each grid does have a little different function. So here on 7, this one just goes into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just counterclockwise. And then we're getting a little bit more evolved. And this is why I say, try a 4-pointed grid just to see how it works before you go over here to the right to the 18-point sided. That is Metatron's cube. That is all the activations of Metatron's cube. All right. So, because I don't want to really confuse you. So what I want to do is I want you guys, we're just going to work on a 4-pointed structure. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and change my video. Hopefully it works. All right, with my little there. Okay. So, there we go. So here's my grid, and as you see it, there is a pyramid here, and then this is a little easier to see. So I have just a little rock right there, which will work. So my intention is to give everybody a really good night tonight. You know, you're going to sleep well. You're going to have beautiful dreams. You're just going to have a hell of a good day. Sorry. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go. So my topper is right here. All right. So this is my 12 o'clock. And then it goes around this way because we're going to go counterclockwise. And so I want you to hold your master crystal. You already charged it up. You know, give it your love, and you don't have to touch the crystals at all. You're going to make like a bowing weaving effect. So all you have to do is we're going to go to number 1. This is my number 1. It's at 12 o'clock. And we're going to go all back to 5. 5 is my center. Then we're going to go back to 1. And then we're going to go to 2. And then after we hit 2, we're going to go back to 5, the center. 5 back to 2. And then we're going to go to number 3. That's at 6 o'clock. And 3, we're going to go back to 5 and then back to 3. Then we're going to go all the way up here to number 4. And then 4 is at 3 o'clock. So 4 to 5, then back to 4, then to 1. And then we go into the center. So you see what we're doing is that we're going to the center, we're weaving. Oops. And if you mess up, you just go right back to it. And you'll feel a humming, like perceive your senses. I actually feel like a little humming going on. Not every single time I do, but sometimes I do. And the more I weave it, you could do 3 times and that'll be done. And then just guide the energy up. You could do anything you want. You could say, you could make a song, you could sing it, you could make a prayer, you could just say something, whatever you feel comfortable, because whatever is in your heart, and if you're comfortable and relaxed and you bring it through your mind to the grid or your voice, you're fine.
And why counterclockwise, Kathy?
It actually connects it to the earth. Think of a coil. Now, some like Metatron's cube, you do counterclockwise and you do clockwise. You're going into the universe.
What about this 12-pointed grid?
The 4-pointed grid, you just go into the earth.
What about this 12-pointed one? So
that's the 12-pointed one. So that is kind of like, this is this guy here. And that's a pretty big grid. That is like almost Metatron's cube. Oh, you can't see that. I'm showing you something that you can't even see. Sorry. Yeah. So it's this one here, right here. That's what she's showing you right there. And so with that one, you're going to go counterclockwise, then clockwise. So you're going to go counterclockwise 3 times, then you're going to go clockwise 3 times. Oh, now, if your intention is to say
like that, I've just charged it up.
I know, right? And it works. And it works. And that is totally fine. Yeah. But be the research in yourself. Think, work with it. Say, okay, I'm going to try it 3 times this way and see how that feels. Now I'm going to try it 3 times this way. I'm going to see, I'm going to put 4 times. I like 12 times. I like doing this, whatever you feel and whatever you perceive. I want you to go with your flow. Nothing is wrong or right. This is just something that has been passed down of how to connect to the sacred geometry and the fine points of the energy, where the energy links to the patterns of creation. And so it just seems like when I work with them, it seems to give me a clear, like laser right to what I need to happen. Now, will it happen? Like, will I get $5 million if I do a money grid? Maybe not, but maybe I'll get more opportunities to make money. Or maybe, you know what I mean? I do win the lottery. I don't know. I haven't won the lottery yet, but but I did notice like an increase of like students, or I get an increase of things that I do for side jobs and stuff. It's just different things will happen, or my mom's really sweet and she gives me some money in the mail, It's like, so it's kind of like, just work with it and see the pattern changes. It's all about patterns, sacred geometry.
Okay, awesome. Well, let's see if anybody has any questions.
Mm-hmm. Everybody's like, oh.
Yeah, Lucy.
Hi, does this have to do with Metatron, the archangel?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yes.
And what is the root of that? I'm interested in that.
Well, Metatron came down and he was human. Mm-hmm. So he was a human archangel, and he came down and he understood what life is, right? And how to work with creation. And that's where the cube came from.
Okay.
It's sacred geometry. And he liked to educate humans And so the understanding of sacred geometry and how the pyramids got made and how they got made, you know, to get the help to understand that, you know, you make this, if you understand it or not, and the information is going to come through it, because it's just how the point of the energy of how creation works. You know, those that doesn't mean that if you don't do that, does it work? Yes, it's energy, but it will be more intense, more potent. You know, you're going with the stream. You're not going against it.
Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so did you want them to activate their grids?
I do. I'd like to see you activate your grids and see how you feel. So just take a moment and do that. Do you guys want to see me do mine? How are you doing?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see that.
You got it. I'll go back up there. Okay. So just go from here. I go back and forth just to feel it. I'm a feeler, guys, and I need to feel that energy bow and just kind of, and I relax my wand a little bit and then I go back into saying, so give everybody a beautiful night. Okay. Everybody, nice night. And that one person that's trying to solve something, I'm going to give you some extra energy. I feel it. So, and then you just bring it up. So use it 3 times.
Well, very cool. It's fun to see all the grids that you have there and all the different ways that you have created them on glass and metal. And
I do big tabletops. If you go on my website, you'll see just huge ones, and I just love them. And you know, they only take me, honestly, after you start doing them, and I started doing them, and I'll have like 300 or 400 stones in one grid, and it only take me like a half an hour to do.
wow.
But I start with the cross, and then I'll go and do other things. So this is a cross, right? You see it? It's a small cross. So you could do the inner part. Then you could do the outer. You could get real fancy and do this part here, and then work up to each one, each gemstone, and bring it toward the middle. So that's simple.
That's very cool. I have a question. I studied a little bit of Peruvian shamanism, and I learned about apichetas, which are basically piles of rocks. And I have those piles of rocks as a decoration all through my house. I have one in the living room, one in the hearth room, one in the kitchen. I mean, they're like bunches of mostly like quartz crystals with some other things on them. And I'll give them Reiki from, you know, when I go through and clear my house of every couple of weeks.
Wow.
Yeah.
When you get your new property, you should put them in parts of your land, make a grid. I make a grid on my property.
In the house. Yeah.
Oh yeah. You can put them in the house, but you know what I mean? Like if you put them in the right order, I put like you'll see certain stones in my house. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I actually make a grid into my home. You know, people be like, why is that right there? No matter, you know, if somebody picks it up or a little kid picks it up or something like that, I just charge it back up. So how do you charge your grids? You could do it manually. If you start feeling comfortable in the flow, I use a crystal singing bowl, and my intention is to bring the sound up and charge each grid. And I learned that from my holographics. And before I learned it, I was at a fair, and I was working beside this group of people that were singing bowls. They were working with the singing bowls, and they had grids too. And I was ready to light up my grids. And usually you do them every day, You know, I usually light up my master grid. This is how I learned about master grids. And so this guy was doing a singing bowl, and my grids lit up like that. And I was like, whoa, what did you do to my grids? These are beautiful. And he says, I use my intention with sound and made my grids go up. And I was like, oh, well, this is something else. And he goes, I worked on my master grid first, and my master grid connected every grid I have. So what I learned from that is that I make one master grid, and then I connect all my little grids up to that. And I also use intention. So like if you use it as a job and you're like making grids for people, they're like, oh, you're so good. I like this. This makes me feel good. You can hook those up to your master grid. And so they're always getting that energy. And it really doesn't take much time. So you're only really igniting one grid, and they'll connect to all your other grids. You know,
and how do you connect one grid to other grids?
it's your intention. So what you do is, like when I place my one grid, like this little guy, I have a master grid that's upstairs, and it's, you know, it doesn't matter in size, but I have these tables, so I can use a nice table. So I put it on there. And what I'll do is I'll put this in a spot, you know, I didn't move it now because it has to be grounded. You're grounding it, you know what I mean? So I'll put it to an area, and I will do the whole thing to this grid. And I'll say, you're connecting to the master grid, but the intention for this might be give the earth some love. And my master grid is the intention of to fuel all my little grids of anything connected to it. You know, it's like the big chakra.
Beautiful. So
Yeah,
it all comes back to intention.
it does. It's all about intention. When I go training, you know, and I'm at a hotel, I am not kidding you. I'll take one of my pre-made grids. And before I would take all these stones and stuff, and I didn't really want to fly with all these stones. I always get trapped. So I'll take one of these guys and I'll wrap it up, put it in my luggage, and give it energy to my luggage stay safe. And then I'll go into my room, my, you know, whatever I'm at, and I'll connect that grid to my master grid that's in my sanctuary. And by the time I go eat and come back to my room, everything's real sweet. And I've had people like clean my room and like, your room feels different. I always laugh. I'm like, well, I put some energy in it. And they're like, well, you're kind of, you know, unique or whatever, different, weird, you know, and I show them, I'm like, here's the grid, you know. But before then I would take all these stones with me. I mean, lots of stones, guys. And I was like, oh, I got to do this and this. And I didn't have to. If I don't even have a grid, if I go somewhere, I'll go and get some rocks on the lawn and make a grid and connect it.
Well, that's very cool, Kathy. Okay, well, let's check in and see if anybody has any questions, because we are nearing the end of our time.
My question was sorry.
Go right ahead.
My question was about the flower of life and at the beginning.
Yes.
What's the intent? What is the symbolism of those mean?
The flower of life is creation. It's
Okay.
the flow of creation. It's how things are created. You know, if you think of an embryo, like, you know, when it first gets the two cells together, then you see 3 cells and 4 cells. It's making the flower of life. I mean, it's just, you know, that's what it is. The seed of life is a pattern of the flower of life. So the seed of life is actually in the center of the flower of life. And so these patterns of creation, how things get created, this is the pattern of it. And from that pattern, geometry shapes are within that pattern that people realized. And those shapes have points to them, you know, like a square or, you know what I mean? They have these pivotal points that energy comes into them at an more intensely than a spot that isn't there. And because of that, if you go with those patterns, your energy flows more. You're able to do what your intention is more.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, and Helen.
Hey, I was wondering about like specific rocks. You know how you said citrine's always clearing, and I'm just wondering. I have this one stone. I don't even know what it is. It's sort of a dark, opaque, like sort of purplish color. It might be an agate, but it always feels weird to me energetically. And I mean, I think it's clear. Like, I don't think it's like holding negative energy. I think I'm feeling its own energy, but I'm just wondering. I'm just wondering if you any input. Do you have people ever just not jibe well with certain stones and energies, or like is there ever like stones you shouldn't, like you personally should not be working with, or something along those lines?
No, I would say that I wouldn't rub on volcanic stones. You know what I mean? Because they have certain things, so you don't want to touch them and really like, oh, this is the greatest stone in the world and put in your bra or whatever, because chemically it's not good for you. Like mongolite, that is a Compassionate Reiki stone, but it like you could tell it glows orange and black light and stuff like that, but that's like a volcanic stone. So things like that. But like jiving like energetically, well, you know, some days I'm jiving with this, and sometimes I'm over here and I'm over there. I go along with, there's some stones that don't want to work. You know, I have stones up in my center that work well with people. They want to be there. I feel them. They want to be there. They want to be cleaned out, but they want to work on the table. They're workers. There are stones in my house that want to just breathe and be. You know what I mean? There's different things. There's stones that might not particularly like me, or I feel like this is off a little bit, but they're in the place for maybe somebody else. You know, it's not like a stone's evil or anything, because if you clear out, you know, any entity in the stone, then you know what I mean, that should be cleared out. I don't think like a haunting or anything like that. But if you're feeling like it's not your day with the stone, then that's fine. Go with that flow. Everybody has, you know, you got feelings too, you know, it might be too much for you or energetically, or you don't need it. You know, maybe I just want to break.
Feels like heavy and dense in a way my other stones don't. So
well, you should ask if it's heavy and dense. Maybe are you grounding? Do you want to be grounded? Or what do you want? Do you want some moonlight? Do you want some sunshine? Do you want to be on the earth for a moment? Do you want to, you know what I mean? What is your job? You know,
what's it specific, like have that question, what's your specific job? Like what are you, what is this specific stone here to do?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's no harm of asking the stone if it wants to be with you. You know, to be in the grid or not be in the grid or whatever. And trust, you know, Reiki is not that tangible. You know what I mean? It's a little bit it is, but not really. You have to have a trusting relationship with Reiki. Same thing with your crystals. Sometimes you're just going to have to listen and say, yeah, I'm good with that. This stone is my friend. Okay, I'm good with that. Or this stone wants to do this. You know, trust your intuition. So it will guide you. You know, make that energetic connection with the stones.
One of my first Reiki classes, one of the other students had a amethyst quartz point, and I was looking at it really intently and liking it. Yeah. And she picked it up and she's like, the stone just told me to give it to you. So.
Oh wow, look at that.
Hold up your rocks.
Hold up your rocks. Let's see your rocks, everybody.
Let's show off our rocks.
This is dude. Isn't he cool?
Yeah, very nice.
I was given this right before I got attuned to Reiki.
Pretty, Lucy.
I don't know if you can see mine. I did it on a Catholic hymnal, and it's dark in here.
Wow. That's cool.
Are you going to talk about deconstructing and clearing the grid?
Well, yes, we can. So when you clear it, what you want to do is you take your stones and you start over again. You know, you get your stones together, see who wants to work with each other, and you start giving them Reiki, or, you know, you do your ritual, you do whatever you need to do. You know, you might want to clear them first, right? That's usually my ritual. I take my stone and I put a symbol on it, blow on it, give it some love and say, I'm clearing you. And then I'm putting some Reiki into you, you know, and I'm going to stuff you up with Reiki. And then I might take 2 of them together. I might take one of them, whatever. I do whatever feels comfortable to me to start the whole thing over again, because I'm breaking it down. So I clear them and put them away, or I clear them and put them into the grid, whatever I feel like doing it.
So when you're deconstructing a grid, there's no like specific way you deconstruct it. Okay.
Just take it down. I always give my guys, they work so hard. You know what I mean? They're working so hard. So I either put them out in the moonlight, or I give them some extra Reiki. I might beam. If I'm really busy, you know, I'll be like, I'll take them down, clear them up, and give them some love, you know, and I give them some Reiki, say thank you for doing what you need to do, you know, what you did for me. And because it's my intention, it's not the rock's intention, you know, it's just helping me. It's empowering me to bring this to fruition, to manifest.
Awesome. Well, we need to be wrapping up. So if you want to further contact Kathy, she is at wisconsinreiki.com, and share with us one more time the name of your crystal grid course.
So it's Reiki, REIKI, / like a little hyphen, university.newzealer, NEWZENLER.com.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Awesome. And it's like a self-paced crystal grid class. It looks really comprehensive. It's pretty amazing
Yep.
looking. So recommend that you check that out. And
there's a little video of it online too. There too, you can look at it and just see what the sample of the class is like. And you get a crystal grid, you get a base, and you get some crystals, so you can start out too. So yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Kathy. This has been awesome. Just give you much love, and
Thank you.
yes, and
thank you guys.
yes, and my website, KarenHarrison.net, and let me know what other topics that you all would like to have on Reiki Call. We are usually the 3rd Monday of the month. And we'll see you all next time.
Thank you very much. Have a beautiful
Thank
night.
you.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you all. Bye.
Thank you.